I'd like to begin with a question. If a train leaves Chicago, heading due west at 50 miles an hour, and at that moment, another train, 200 miles to the east, begins leaving its station, also heading due west at 65 miles an hour, then what percentage of you are experiencing buttocks-clenching terror at the prospect of doing an algebra problem? Yeah. Mathematics is the art of solving problems, but it is also the art of attaining the mental state necessary in which to do so. We might be in class hand computing the factors of polynomials, and a student would come up to me, and they'd ask me a question, and you already know the question. When am I ever going to use this? And what I like to do is say, you probably won't. And then watch them get really hopeful while they thought about maybe they could drop this class. However, I'd say, mathematics is the art of solving problems by breaking complicated problems into simpler problems. And if those problems are complex, breaking them into simpler problems still. And you will have problems until the day that you die. Math demands that we make complex mental manipulations of abstract concepts. But we're doing that abstract work in a human body with human instincts. And those instincts are telling you, do not go into the unknown, it is probably full of snakes. I'm not going to try a problem I've never solved before, because if I try, I might fail. And if I fail, I risk social shame. I will be ejected from the tribe, where I will die all alone. Math. Let's talk about Einstein and suffering. Einstein had great compassion for the suffering of others. He was very imaginative, and that imagination served him well in his scientific work, but it also let him imagine what it must be like to be someone else. When Marie Curie was receiving bags of hate mail, he wrote her a letter telling her, "These people are reptiles and they are writing you hogwash." In his adopted home of the United States, he observed that African Americans here were treated quite like Einstein himself, a Jew, had been treated in pre-Nazi Germany. So he took the time to travel to Lincoln University, a black college, where he lectured, and he said, "Racism is a disease of white people, and I do not intend to be quiet about it." And he addressed intellectual suffering when he said, "Do not worry about your difficulties in mathematics. I can assure you, mine are still greater." Now, he wasn't pulling rank. He was saying that if you're struggling with, let's say, subtraction, and you cannot understand for the life of you why on earth it should be that the minus of a minus is a plus, and you're suffering, that suffering was not unlike the suffering that Einstein went through while struggling with his problems. Now, he'd already struggled through arithmetic. His problems were the geometry of space-time. How is it that space and time change and flow in response to gravitation? And that requires some heavy mathematical machinery. Things with names like diffeomorphic covariance, and tensor product, and Lorentz manifold. I have troubles with mathematics. I have difficulties, and my difficulties will continue. This week, I spent 2 hours reading 4 pages of information theory, and most of the time, I looked like this. The good news is, it never gets easier. You just get harder problems. I have spent hundreds of hours stuck over the years, and I became afraid. I became afraid that my mathematical journey was over, that I had reached the limits of my ape brain. But I stayed beside the problem. Because above all, mathematics has taught me to tolerate frustration and even enjoy it. I love doing math. I suffer, but I love it. And when I'm stuck, I zoom in. If a paragraph is too hard, I concentrate on one sentence. And if I can't make it through that sentence, I try to understand one word with focus. If I'm stuck and I cannot move forward, maybe I can move to the side. Maybe I can solve a related problem, get some leverage. And if I'm really, really stuck, and I'm turning the problem over looking for a weakness and I cannot find one, then I make my own weakness. I write down a huge error, something nice and wrong. Because if something's wrong, it's wrong for a reason. Errors are information. Do you cook? Then you've burned things. And that burning smell is telling you, maybe next time, turn the heat down a little. Take it out of the oven a couple minutes earlier. Have you studied a musical instrument? Then you have experience holding a device that will give you instantaneous, unambiguous, and embarrassing feedback about how much you suck. But those wrong notes are telling you something. They're saying, adjust your hands, do something different with your embouchure. And over time, if you persist, you will sound less bad. And mathematics is no different. Errors are information, learn to love them. And problems build the student. We have problems. Our problems will continue. Fortunately, our problems will only continue until we are dead. So until then, we may as well confront them. We may as well embrace our fears, make friends with our errors, and trace the outlines of our problems in the sand. There will be struggling, and there will be suffering. And there is no guarantee that the city will not fall. It may come to pass that our problems will overwhelm us, that they will defeat our most ingenious devices, that they will breach our walls and break down our doors and threaten us with death on the point of a sword. But by that point, we will have done our homework. We will have made our hundreds and thousands of mistakes. We will take a deep breath, and we will not be afraid.